At the center of the universe lies a great tower. Its mere existence is the only power holding our entire reality together. If it 'twas to perish, then this realm, and countless beyond our mortal comprehension, are doomed to fall as well, to a darkness. And if you suffered watching the Hollywood schlockbuster, then you know it already has. Hey, Wolfpack. No, I'm not a Billy Bumbler. It's just me, your favorite web kitty, Catastrophe. And I hate this pile of crap. The Dark Tower is unquestionably one of the worst Stephen King movies to ever piss all over the fan base. Oh yeah, it's as bad as It Chapter 2, The Cell Phone Invasion, Dreamcatcher, and even The Langoliers.
Scaring the little girl!
As much as I want to tear this thing down, unfortunately, I don't own a copy of it, since I only own good movies, so it looks like this is cancelled. Not so fast, silly fumbler! Pinkamena Pie Die, what are you doing here? Cha! Helping your channel suck less? You know, you can review the Dorks Fowler, since you have us! You mean a clipless review?
We paid $9 for this?
I paid 10.
And I'll help too. Scaredy cat, you actually want to lend a paw? Dynamite! I want to play too, and distract you so you won't see our big surprise. Huh? I mean, hang out with the cool cats. Okie dokie, you can be the innocent kid who gets tortured and traumatized. Yay! Wait, what? Too late! No backsies! This is the Dark Tower! For those of you who don't know or don't want to remember, the Dark Tower had a multi-million-dollar feature film, which was supposed to introduce the greatness of the Stephen Kingdom to a brand spanking new audience, as well as give you hardcore fans a well-deserved adaptation of a critically acclaimed masterpiece. The Dark Tower was a series of novels created by the Master of Fear, Stephen King. And you would never believe how massive this saga is for book nerds. The Dark Tower is considered Stephen King's Lord of the Rings, earned high praises for its creative universe, has tons of epic fan art online, and is considered the most important King epic of his lineup, because it confirms that every single Stephen King story, both horror and fantasy, share a single universe, meaning that every King tale we've ever watched or read is all taking place in one world. This element is super tight, but it's only one reason why this series was huge. The narrative is just as compelling in its own right, and it gave us a surreal tale that's crazy awesome. It's not very easy to simply tell you what this book saga is even about, because this is one of those franchises which was all over the place, containing such abstract ideas, overly complex story arcs, and a magic world that can't be put into words without issue. To put it bluntly, The Dark Tower is a horror fantasy following a group of misfits traversing the Stephen King multiverse in an attempt to prevent demons from hell from destroying a magical tower that defends all life, where wacky hijinks and grim nightmare fuel ensues. I cannot highly recommend reading this book series or its graphic novels enough. Check it out if you can't sit through Snowflake in safe space. As you can probably guess, our old toxic corrupter Hollywood of course took this moneymaker under its wing to make it a whole new cinematic universe, and spawn so much content to scam the fan base. And judging how most of you probably forgot this flick even existed, you can tell how well they succeeded. The Dark Tower movie was a disaster. Fans hated it, newbies couldn't get into it, every review was negative, Sony abandoned all hope of sequels, and even the divine Stephen King, who initially loved the movie, quickly changed his mind, and is now trying to reboot it with a whole new cast.
Ouch, baby. Very ouch.
Yeah, this movie is a special awful, just awful. Yet weirdly, this try has gained somewhat of a cult following, made of some folks who like this abomination.
You what?
I watched this movie and I fail to understand your insanity, but maybe we have been too hard on it. Movies have changed quite a bit lately, and it's been a long time seeing this, so was the hate train warranted, or was there some good which came from this Forgotten King film? I hope you love our clipless reviews because the lovely pals of Wolf Entertainment are performing this play tonight. Why? Because I hate this movie so much that I don't feel like getting a copy even on pirate websites.
Deal with it!
Was the adaptation of King's greatest saga truly an overhated art piece with lost magic within its soul? Or is it another fine example of King movies which suck? This is our clipless review on the first ever attempt at the Stephen King cinematic universe, The Dark Tower.
I'm gonna scare the hell out of you.
So, our movie opens up in slightly confusing fragments of storytelling, where the film attempts to introduce us to our three main characters. You heard me, three main characters. Our two heroes and our ominous villain, each worse than the last. We open up in a sweet, peachy children's school, but psych, it's actually a torture facility, where the kids are submitted to grisly, unspeakable experiments too cruel for mortal eyes.
I just never managed to get my life together. Isn't that hilarious?
You're cute.
Stop it, please, I beg you!
This facility is the secret villain base attempting to use the souls of children to power a
Frickin' laser beam!
designed to destroy the Dark Tower, an all-powerful building which holds all reality together. No explanation yet, since that would spoil the stupid plot, which goes against a lot of the book, but it's merely a way to build up our sinister villain, an evil, inhuman entity only known as the Man in Black. That's me! Trust me, she's a lot better than the guy they actually got. But we don't learn too much yet, because it was all just a dream of our main character, Jake Chambers, a psychic little tyke who believes that his recurring dreams of this Man in Black are really visions of the future.
See that?
Yep, another Stephen King tale with a magic psychic child who's the key to everything. That's me! While not exactly a fresh idea for King, Jake Chambers was an innocent, lovable kid hero who was forced to grow up fast, evolving into the true protagonist's real son, and coming into his own by the end. Jake Chambers is one of the most beloved heroes of the series, since he starts off so lovably kind before entering this nightmare world where he evolves into a wiser, noble soul. But in the movie, Jake is about as generic as a Chosen One archetype you can get, and receives approximately 0 character development in his own coming-of-age story.
I just wanted someone to do Stephen King right.
Tom Taylor does alright with what he's given, but he is not as great as his literary counterpart. Making things worse is that the studio added some changes. Mom, I just had the scariest dream! Oh, sweetie, you know these dreams are just night terrors from your loving firefighter father's tragic death. We'll get through this together. You know I love you. I love you too, Mommy. Wow! First minute! And they get absolutely everything about Jake's background completely wrong. Where to begin? Well, let's start with the bleeding obvious. Jake is nothing like his book version at all, as the studio gives him a whole new backstory, motivation, and even personality change, which was supposed to help modern audiences connect with him, but totally robs all uniqueness from the character. The only thing they got right was that Jake did have some powers, but he's pretty much an in-name only version in the movie. Not to mention his whole new family. Jake's parents were not a loving family. They were neglectful pricks who cared so little for the kid that they barely acknowledged his mere existence. Jake's dad wasn't a noble fireman who bravely fell in the line of duty. He was a corrupt newscaster who treated Jake like a pet. And his loving mother was a two-faced bitch who slept with like 20 guys and got drunk a lot. While King loves his abusive parents, Jake's were more so neglectful and just avoided their kid like the plague. They sucked so much that the family's frickin' housekeeper was more of a loving parent to Jake than they were. This living condition basically gave Jake the motivation to run away from home, since nobody wanted him, where he encounters the magical adventures that would change his life forever, and the heroes would evolve into his true family over his biological one. For some moronic reason, the movie alters the Chambers family completely into totally new people. Why? So we'd care for them? Jake spends most of his screen time with them acting strange and trying to warn them about his premonitions of the Towerverse, but of course, they don't believe him.
Ooga booga booga!
Well, if he's not going to do anything... Ha! Crazy moron.
Oh, and despite killing off Jake's heroic fireman daddy, they replace him with an abusive stepdaddy, who pretty much neglects Jake instead, and essentially acts like the actual novel father, making this change superfluous. Huh? Let that sink in, folks. The film gets rid of Jake's original abusive daddy, only to replace him with an abusive stepdaddy.
Yeah!
There are so many stupid choices like this all throughout the movie, which goes to show how little the crew cared about being faithful to the source material.
I just wanted someone to do Stephen King right.
And Jake Chambers is just the first character who suffers big stupid changes. Jake has a loving mother, a normal life, a good dead daddy, and some jack-off stepdaddy who doesn't want to raise him. But for the most part, they turn him into a normal everyman playing off of the supernatural characters. This isn't Jake's life. If you're still wondering what's the difference here, well, this clip sums up the boy's family life perfectly.
Hi, Daddy. At school today, they picked one kid to...
Millie, it's in here again.
Me sorry, Mr. Sir. Get out the room, dem dare you bother your father. Him unhappy him had you in the first place. Now come on, I'll let you rub some lotion on me elbows.
So anyways, Jake has visions of a dark tower, a dark man, a dark cowboy, and a dark magical world beyond our reality. He believes there's some meaning behind it all, but his parents think he's cray-cray. His therapist somehow thinks these dreams of a giant tower and frickin' laser beams are a reaction to his old dad's death. And he spends all his time drawing out these odd visions. I'll give credit. I love how Jake's crazy pictures are really artist illustrations of the Dark Tower book series, appearing to wow the fans and give credit to the folks who made the novels. It's pretty cool. This is the nicest compliment I'll give, but don't get too comfortable. After getting some love from his caring mama, Jake has another psychic dream, where we're formally introduced to the true hero and villain of our arc. We cut to a magical city in ruins surrounded by bodies of dead cowboys, the perfect metaphor for this movie, where we fully see the Man in Black. For those of you unfamiliar, the Man in Black is by far one of the biggest, vital, and downright scariest villains of the Stephen King universe. This guy is an all-powerful, evil sorcerer who's fueled by the death, destruction, and pain of others unlucky enough to cross his path. This villain is so huge that there's endless fan theories and story arcs surrounding him. He's so important that Mr. King has had him pop up in his other stories, acting as an unholy doombringer. I dare say this monster is the fear of Stephen King's nightmarish domain. This man has single-handedly influenced major story events behind a number of other horror stories, such as The Stand, Salem's Lot, and Children of the Corn. This guy makes Leland Gaunt, Christine, Carrie, and even Pennywise look like punks compared to his might. The Man in Black is believed to be a living embodiment of pure evil, and will stop at nothing to destroy that darn tower because he wants to kill all life across the multiverse, absorb the tower power, and become a god, where he'll remake the world in his image. Now, imagine that divine boogeyman who puts every king monster to shame and traumatized many readers being played by this guy.
I was driving a handy car way before I got paid to drive one. I just like how it feels.
Yeah, although our homegirl Pinky will be our leading lady. It's the cat in pink! I'm the woke version! I do have to point out this movie's greatest sin. The Man in Black, played by Matthew McConaughey. Holy crap, was this one of the worst casting decisions I have ever lived to see. Matthew McConaughey as a Stephen King monster. What drugs were you smoking? I'll put it bluntly. Matthew McConaughey is not scary. Oh lord, is he not scary. The guy talks in his iconic himbo drawl, looks emo, hams it up, and constantly looks like he needs to take a dump. Who made this choice? How did anyone make this decision? Oh, you know who should play one of Stephen King's most terrifying monsters? That dumbass from Dazed and Confused. Brilliant! This is, paws down, one of the worst casting choices in cinema. It's right up there with Vince Vaughn's Norman Bates and Mila Kunis's Wicked Witch levels of fail. The movie tries its damnedest to make sure you find McConaughey intimidating, but he's just not. Matthew is not a threatening dude, nor a commanding presence. He's a pretty boy dumbass who tries way too hard at the mustache twirling.
You are just awful. You're one of the worst actors in the history of film, and I think that you need to go away.
Every time the man in black does something horrifying, I laugh every time because Matthew's acting is never menacing and the book's magic does not translate well onto film. King has such abstract concepts and there's a limit to effects magic, so it usually looks doofy. It's just so bad it's good. I swear, the villain's a total cartoon baddie. His powers are meant to show us how evil and compelling he is, but it's so overblown it's Care Bears level of evil. There's a hilarious scene where, no Kitten, the man in black simply walks down the street and he's so evil that he encourages everybody around him to turn to the dark side. Yes, the man in black is super mean that he brings out the worst in people he passes by or merely talks to. He actually whispers hatred into a little girl by the park. Hate! Yes, for realsies, that happens. He's so evil that he inspires badness. This is meant to display the unholy skills this foe possesses, but it never feels creepy, and the character just comes across as a Captain Planet villain. When I first heard that Matthew McConaughey was casted as the Man in Black, I thought it was a joke. I thought the filmmakers were misleading us, or at least have Matthew portray Eddie, or even Oi. But nope, he's the ultimate villain of the Dark Tower movie, and it is disappointing. I'm so evil! Now burn! The first time we see the Man in Black in action, he's torching a Westworld village, implied to be Gilead, since here we also meet our hero, Roland Deschain. You've come to the wrong town, punk. The gunslingers don't like trespassers. While the Man in Black is widely regarded as the greatest King villain, Roland is cherished as King's most badass hero. Roland was meant to be based off of Clint Eastwood, since King was a fan of the manliest Western actor to ever walk the walk. But in the movie, Roland is portrayed by the beloved Idris Elba. Knuckles!
You mock me with your weak jokes.
We'll get to him later, but for now, the film tries to set up Roland's story and major rivalry with the Man in Black. McConaughey desolates his hometown of Gilead and lowers the town's population Thanos style, including Roland's fellow gunslingers. And man, is this gonna throw off the book's continuity, since this was done by a totally different guy in the novels.
Don't!
The movie understandably wants to tie in the hero and villain's hatred for one another in a deeper way, but I think this terrible scene demonstrates a ton of the movie's disregard for the book. We get a rushed backstory, bad action fights, blast CGI, a spit in the face towards novel canon, more of McConaughey not being scary, and an utter failure to get us attached to these characters. Roland and his elderly father make their final stand against the madman, but you don't really care or understand what the hell is going on, purging any emotion we should feel. Not to mention, it both fails to establish story lore and make the movie intense because it's just silly. Show no fear, son. The gunslinger's code hasn't failed us yet. I'll always have your back. I love you, Pa. That bastard can't stop the two of us. Don't breathe! Ah! Ay, 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 ay. Roland's Pa, a character we know jack squat about, dies in battle. And nobody cares. This death scene is so goofy, and we know so little about Roland or his dad at this point, that you kinda feel nothing when he magically keels over dead. This scene would have felt exactly the same if Roland's dad was a generic red shirt, since you'd feel no difference in who died. This is meant to set up why Roland hates the Man in Black, because he wrecked his village and even killed his pops before his very eyes. since, you know, the fact that he seeks to obliterate all life across the multiverse wasn't motivation enough. You killed my paw.
Oh, Roland, still immune to my magic, eh? No matter, you gunslingers can't stop me. You can't even save yourselves. Alright.
Question? How is Roland immune to a divine demon's magic?
Don't know.
Oh, and despite popping over to the cowboy village to just say die, the man in black kills every gunslinger except for Roland, then just leaves. Yeah, no reason given and no second thoughts over it, the villain just lets Roland live and waltzes off to allow the hero to regain himself and fight him later. Quality writing, kids. But it was all just a wet dream of Jake's, who stupidly attempts to warn his friends and fam about knowing the truth about space cowboys, wizards, and magic realms. And surprise, surprise, they don't believe him.
Ooga booga booga!
Well, if he's not going to do anything... Ha! Crazy moron.
Yeah. No duh they didn't believe you. What the heck did you expect to happen from the world's most useless parents? I don't get what Jake's plan is. He sees psychic visions of a world he can't prove exists, then tells people who don't believe him that they need to do something. But how do you know if it's even real? Heck, even if it was true, what the heck can a kid do to help?
Don't know.
The idiot parents soon grow tired of Jake's weirdness, so they schedule to have him taken to a children's hospital to get help. But, dun dun dun, the psychiatric hospital is actually controlled by the Man in Black and his army of reptiles. For you see, that kid's school we saw from Jake's dreams was really the Man in Black's secret villain base, where he and his forces of evil abduct random kids from the Earth realm so he can use them as batteries for his
Laser.
to blow up the Dark Tower. And rather conveniently, the hospital the parents called is the exact same one from his dreams, and Jake recognizes the staff as creatures he saw in his nightmares. The Man in Black has some kind of magic lizard minions who serve him and disguise themselves in cheap human skins to walk around the normal world undetected. The movie basically rips off the lizard aliens from the V miniseries.
You're not even trying anymore, are you?
I'll admit, it's a little cool seeing these creepy weirdos in off-putting human skin, but it's also kind of confusing, since the Man in Black has 100 of these reptile folks in his secret magic base too, fully dressed in the bad disguises. Why? What's the point of having them don disguises in the magic world where nobody can see them and they live in?
Don't know.
The reptile minions are never explained and are pretty much Power Ranger thugs for the heroes to kill and outwit. And the fact that the movie needlessly downplays them and has them looking human for 90% of the movie makes them forgettable, rather than building off of their potential coolness. Oh, but much like Matthew's non-existent terror, the movie tries to make the reptiles creepy too, since they sense that Jake is onto them. Somehow. After trying to explain to the idiot parents that the child doctors are bad doo-doo, they of course don't believe him.
Ha! Crazy moron.
So Jake at last snaps and runs away, knowing the truth is out there, where the lizards pursue. You'd think this be an easy, scary moment for the movie, right? A chase scene where a kid is being stalked by lizard aliens across New York, like this was They Live. But nope, even they screwed that up, because the lizards are disguised as a fat guy and a middle-aged soccer mom.
No!
Seeing these very non-threatening idiots struggling with an 11-year-old plays out like a wacky comedy. Heck, the fat guy accidentally gets his face mask caught on an antenna and freaks out. Why? It's not real skin, and you're on a roof where nobody can see you. There's no reason to panic. And it ultimately ultimately leads to Jake completely eluding the Tweedles and escaping their radar. Well, there goes all fear these villains could have had, since they get easily duped by a middle schooler.
I'm such a dork.
Eventually, Jake tracks a lead he had earlier, where he finds a magic house he saw from his psychic dreams, and explores it since he believes it houses answers. I do like how we find hints to the Stephen King universe throughout the building, such as sequel bait for the Crimson King, but when you get down to it, they're all just pointless references to tease the King movies, many of which fly right over your head if you don't know what they're alluding to, or are just there to make the hardcore fans clap like mindless seals because it reminds us of the good King tales. I'm kind of mixed on these minor details, since as a King fan, I do love seeing that the good movies are valued, but also it feels like Disney Star Wars with how forced these references get, and just jingle keys in front of the fans to wow them, to distract you from how bad this movie really is. Seeing a toy Christine or the number 1408 graffitied on a wall doesn't make me love this movie just cause we remember that. The movie relies way too much on these tiny references, even awkwardly holding on them like this rundown circus tent which says Pennywise just to get the fan boners. Knowing this film shares a world with better King tales doesn't make it good. It just makes us wish we were watching those grander epics.
I can't think of anything more exciting. Oh my god, a water fountain!
Oh, and just to piss you off, despite referencing the Crimson King, the character never appears in this movie at all, and was saved for the sequel, because these writers are morons who didn't think this script through.
Yeah!
Who is the Crimson King? Only the actual greater scope villain of the entire Dark Tower story arc, and the Man in Black's boss. But guess what? He was saved for the follow-up movies, which never happened, and the film thought Matthew McConaughey was scary enough to hold up the story. So, since he's unimportant to his own plot, I'm not going to bring him up a whole lot, because this movie, which wanted to sell us on the Dark Tower universe, didn't care.
I can't take it anymore! I just want to die! We all want to die!
Jake looks through the abandoned house, only to get attacked by a house monster. Oh no! Which suddenly dies. This is foreshadowing for Jake's secret superpower, which we'll go into detail later once it's fully revealed. But the anticlimactic death of the house spirit also gives you a hint of the thrill ride we're in for. Jake discovers that the house monster was guarding a magic portal leading to the parallel universe known as Midworld.
Uh-oh!
Now, in the book, the dimensional portal entries were these fantastical magic doors, which appeared out of nowhere and just looked super enchanting. They were literal magic doorways into a whole new world, and gave the book's universe a whimsical feel. In the film, the Midworld portals are bad CGI stargates that look as fake as an Asylum movie. I guess the movie wanted to add a sci-fi vibe to the adventure, since these portals do take you to alien worlds, but it just looks like a boom tube from Young Justice, or a bad Marvel movie effect. It lacks any of the grandiose of King's magical universe, and opts for a generic blockbuster design. Really disappointing. Speaking of lame, Jake, with no worries whatsoever, decides to jump into his Sliders portal and travel to the land of his drawings, hoping to find his answers, I guess, where we at last get to see Midworld on the big screen. And it sucks. Holy lobstrosities, does Midworld disappoint? Midworld is supposed to be this warped, unreal dimension full of wonder, magic, abstract visuals, and best of all, vague nightmares hidden around every corner. The movie Midworld lacks all of that, and is just so hideous to look at. I've held off on saying this since there's a lot to discuss, but this movie looks ugly. So ugly. The Dark Tower has some of King's most gorgeous, unnerving imagery, but with the exception of the tower, there's not much visually stunning cinematography in this at all. Every shot is boring, colorless, drowsy, and super uninteresting to look at. Where it hurts the most is in Midworld. This is supposed to be a magic world of dreams, nightmares, and adventure, but you do not feel impressed looking at it here. What cool stuff is in movie Midworld? Well, we have barren deserts, barren forests, barren mountains, barren fields, and the Man in Black's grungy abandoned factory of a home base, which looks like a warehouse you'd see in real life streets.
There it is.
Yeah, don't you just feel the magic? This dreary, empty, vast wasteland of an alien dimension looks like an empty environment you'd see driving down a dirt road. This is lame. Midworld looks exactly like our normal everyday world, and that's a problem, because all the magic and mythical creatures are barely present. Are we supposed to be in awe when Jake gazes upon a bad CGI fart cloud, or spots the wreckage of Blaine the monorail, which looks like diarrhea? This isn't Midworld. This is an empty dump polluted with crap. It's so bland and boring. Who would want adventure time here? It's just uninteresting. Take note, Lucasfilm. The desert is boring. I'm so sick of movies and shows filming out in the desert just because it's cheap. You gotta have a decent story to make up for an empty void of nothing, and this movie is about as bad as the Book of Boba Fett. So you can guess how memorable Midworld was. It's so lifeless that Jake doesn't even seem affected that alien planets are real and he's trapped on one for Lord knows how long. Sweet, a carnival! I hope they have balloons! But we got a bad plot to complete. Jake explores not Tatooine until he finally encounters Roland. You're the man of my dreams! I don't do kids. Wait, I know you. I've seen you before. You want to stop the Man in Black. You know the Man in Black? I'll kill you. Ah! Jake explains that he has magic dreams and has foreseen events from the future, many regarding Roland and the Man in Black's battle over the Dark Tower. This being a magic alien world, Roland instantly believes him, and the dynamic duo head off on adventures. A ton of people praise Idris Elba's Roland as the highlight of this movie, but honestly, I completely disagree. I don't think Elba was as good as most folks say he is. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Idris Elba sucks at all, but he's really not that great either. Roland is also totally out of character in parts, acting almost like a way different guy he is than in the book. Not quite to the same extent as Jake, but Idris really doesn't feel like the gunslinger. He comes across as every angsty 90s anti-hero you've ever seen. All Roland does in this movie is angst and act cold towards everyone, while his character arc overall is painfully predictable. Roland doesn't like Jake, but keeps him around since he's useful in his quest to defeat the Man in Black and save the tower, where naturally he grows to love his kid sidekick and slowly become besties with him along the way. Now, this type of arc does work in the novel and could have been great in film, even if overdone. But I don't buy any of the growing friendship between Idris Elba and Jake in this movie at all, since they have no chemistry together whatsoever. Not helping matters is the writing for Roland does not salvage any of his actors' attempts to give Deshane his depth. Roland is supposed to be this cool, hardened action hero, slowly regaining his humanity over the course of the saga. But the movie removes most of his unique traits and turns him into a rather generic jerk with a heart of gold who's good at shooting. Less deeper than his role in the Suicide Squad. Roland is boring. The film wants us to believe he and Jake are becoming BFFs over the course of the movie, but the writing is more focused on having Roland drop exposition and backstory from the novels that they neglect to make you feel for him as a person. Idris Elba's attempts at being dramatic also seem like he's disinterested in what's going on around him. I don't feel pity for him since he has almost no personality, and the magical world he's hyping up is just as lifeless as he is. So Roland is robbed of all his uniqueness just to make him easier to market towards action lovers, resulting in this unremarkable bad boy you'll forget as soon as the movie ends. Idris Elba, the man who brought Knuckles to life, is mega dull and so unpassionate as Deshane. This isn't helped by the fact that Roland's relationship with Jake is so weak. You kinda wonder, does Roland even like the kid? I know they slowly grew into buddies over the books course, but the film flip-flops between Roland growing to care for the kid's well-being and getting annoyed by him the very next second. A good chunk of the film is just Roland and Jake traversing this boring alien world, where Roland saves Jake every few minutes. He saves him from the blob that ate everyone. He saves him from El Chupacabra, and saves him from a cliff. Oh, but in case you thought the comedic fails were falling short, don't worry, because the relationship is also a total joke. You good, kid?
Yeah, thanks for the save, buddy.
It's cool. You handle yourself well, Jake.
You what?
You handle yourself well, Jake. He handles himself well? I'm not even kidding. After Roland saves Jake countless times and essentially drags his sorry hide all throughout Midworld, Roland praises Jake for taking care of himself when all he's done is run away, get into trouble, and cower. Quality writing, kids.
I just wanted someone to do Stephen King right.
Roland and Jake's relationship not only lacks any emotion, but is also super rushed. This movie compresses a metric ton from the novel into a movie runtime, and as a result, it hurts any attempt for newbies to get into it. Because they're speeding through so much crap, and Roland's only moments with Jake are him giving world-building exposition so we know what's going on, but there's just too much info. I hate Roland because he only feels butthurt a lot and just tosses the encyclopedia at us. You see, kid, the Dark Tower is the most important building in the cosmos. For if it were to fall, then monstrous beings will swarm all our normal worlds.
What can possibly shatter a fortress that holds reality together?
The man in black has been abducting children to power his deadly laser with soul energy, capable enough to break down its godlike structure. Hey, here's a stupid question. Why does McConaughey want to tear down this tower? I know it's explained in the book, and I'm aware of his motives from the original, but guess what? It's never explained why the bad guy does what he does, nor what he gets out of this. He wants to become a god, absorbing the tower power after blowing it up, but the movie never states this. So if you don't read the books, you're going to be confused by this and a whopping 80% of this film. There's just too much to consume all in one movie, and it never flows naturally. The flick crams in so much for us, and it's too hard to follow. Hell, what even is this place? Is Midworld even a parallel world? An alternate version of Earth? An alien domain? What?
There is a void surrounding the universe known as the macroverse.
Your first sentence isn't even over and already I can't follow it.
No, really, it's super easy to follow. I'm surprised they left it out of the movie.
The movie prioritizes its world building over the storytelling, and as a result, you fail to get people invested in what's happening in it, and we don't care about the characters. This really should have been a TV series instead of a film, because there's just too much.
There's a toy lodged in my brain.
Speaking of bad world building, we cut to the Man in Black, who's told there was an unauthorized portal access, which makes him pissed.
I'm so pissed!
Now you're probably wondering why the Man in Black hates people using their magic portals, despite leaving a fully functioning magic portal working in a random house anyone can get into. McConaughey finds his house pet dead, but senses a fantastical power at play, where he takes a splinter with Jake's blood on it to his chief minion, Rorschach. Oh right, I totally forgot Jackie Earle Haley was in this. But let's be honest, so did all of you. Rorschach apparently has the power to taste magic and helps the Man in Black locate his magic kid batteries, where we get some detail about the boy's powers.
Master, this kid has the most incredible power levels I've ever felt. This child may be able to power the laser with enough juice to topple the tower.
Are you sure? Alright.
Yes, the boy has pure shine.
Yes, so diddly, Jake Chambers has the shining. The reason behind all his psychic dreams, his premonitions, and discovery of Midworld is due to him having the shining. This is another attempt to tie the King lore neatly together and explain Jake's magic. But you want to know something funny? In the novel, Jake didn't have the shining. Jake has some spell skills, but it was not the shining. The movie pulled this out its ass to make the fans think this was clever world building. Again, they totally made this up, and not only does it go against the novels, but it also contradicts the movie. How did the Dark Forces know Jake had the shining or was important earlier? The parents called who they thought were random child doctors and gave zero evidence of his magic skills, and the reptiles were just going to take a random kid back to their world to be a battery on the off chance he may or may not have had the shining. Huh?
That does not make sense.
It's a dumb change, which again shows you how little they cared for the original character and was only made to reference more of King's classics. Not to mention, turns Jake from a nobody finding himself into this epic chosen one with the most powerful power in the universe. So the kid is the key to everything rather than somebody identifiable. The film straight up implies that Jake's shining is more powerful than Dr. Sleep, Carrie, and Christopher Walken's minds, which failed to amaze since, spoiler alert, Jake does nothing action-packed all movie. Aww. But the Man in Black who hates everyone and everything is actually impressed by Kid who's the key to everything and places a bounty on him. Jake's shining is so ultra bossa nova that he can power the laser enough to sink the tower defense, and McConaughey will complete his scheme.
We shall call it the Alan Parsons Project.
Roland also realizes how epic Jake's shining is, so he takes him to a village of seers to help decipher his visions. You know how Stephen King loves injecting unexplained psychic kids into nearly half his work? Well, the Dark Tower movie informs us that every psychic in the kingdom has the shining, as Midworld is full of shining sages who use their incredible power to live their everyday lives and combat the forces of evil. However, the dark forces view them as a threat to their might, so they unleash monsters to kill them before their skills grow beyond their badassness. So remember, kids, every time you see a Stephen King movie with a psychic in it, they really have the shining, and the monsters/villains are Power Rangers enemies that the Crimson King sent to crush the heroes.
Now we know.
And like I always say, remember, you know enough.
Jake is taught how to control his shining by the town seer, Princess Mulan. Mulan helps Jake understand his powers and guide him in their ways, as this movie blatantly rips off Star Wars and basically treats the shining like the Force.
Rip off!
Roland discovers the location of the Man in Black's villain lair, where he intends to use the village's old portal to invade it from the inside. The two bum around the village for the time while the seers repair their device, where we get more character for Roland and Jake, but none of it is good or even makes sense.
You're the gunslinger, Roland Deschain of Gilead. You're here to save us all from the darkness.
No, I'm no hero. I failed. The gunslingers are all dead. The darkness has consumed everything. There's no hope.
What darkness? What are you talking about? These scenes of Roland's angst make less sense when he acts like the Man in Black has already won and conquered the world, when he hasn't. Roland claims that darkness has consumed Midworld, but we don't quite see that. This village is perfectly fine. We see like 2 monsters out in the forest, but that's it. He's acting like this wasteland was ravaged by demons and destroyed beyond repair, but we never understand that or even see it on screen. This village is full of happy Western townsfolk, not beaten down rebels just trying to survive, so it rings hollow. You see what I mean when I say it's hard to care about anyone in this movie? Because the plot fails to immerse you in this divine world of dark magic and never captures the tone of the book. They're just going through basic story motions without detail, resulting in a lot of confusion or disinterest.
Man, am I tired.
The only thing this crap tries to focus on is the relationship between Roland and Jake, but the writing behind them is just not good either, because even the broship has contradictions.
I'm going to strategize, kid. Rest up.
Roland doesn't like me. What do you mean he doesn't like you? He's been saving your tail and praising you for handling yourself all movie.
Great continuity.
What, is Jake hoping he'd say, "That's my boy"? This sucks.
Man, am I tired.
Because we haven't had enough torture with McConaughey, we cut back to the Man in Black screwing around on Earth in an attempt to locate his shining boy. He interviews the dimwits who failed to capture Jake earlier, gaining the boy's file and home address. Yet, despite having everything he needs to be a threat, Matthew remains just as non-scary as ever.
We're sorry we failed to obtain the boy, Master. It's alright. Alright. I forgive you. Really?
Yep. Now kill each other. Again, these scenes are meant to show off how evil and ruthless the Man in Black is, but it's so over the top and cartoonish that you just feel nothing but laughter. How are we supposed to dread this dude?
Are we driving cars or are cars driving us?
The man in black breaks into the Chambers house, where I guess we're supposed to fear him toying with the parents, but the adults are douches so you don't care, and McConaughey more or less acts like a Saturday morning cartoon villain, resulting in hilarity.
Wowzers! This Chick-fil-A is so good! We don't have them on Midworld, or whatever alien planet I come from.
Well, who the hell are you to...
Kill yourself! Don't mess with the black or you'll snap!
The man in black then, I think, mind controls Jake's mom into obeying him, answering all his questions, and show him the boys' room, where he somehow plays Batman's detective vision to recreate the kid's activities and sees the Shining drawings to learn how much he knows.
Sometimes you gotta go forward by going backward.
And at this point, I had to ask, exactly how powerful is the man in black? He can ooze evil around him, compels people with his sexy voice, replay past events, literally makes enemies drop dead, shoots fireballs, and can mind control anyone he wants. How the heck is he struggling to conquer reality when he's this powerful? In the book, it's explained what his limits are, but not in the movie, so yeah, it's a plot hole. This guy can literally take over the world and mind control thousands of people into serving him, or hunt down Roland and Jake, but for some reason, he never does. It just makes the bad guy and his scheme so contrived, dumb, and ridiculous because the plot has him pull new anime powers out his ass, and then immediately downgrades him when the story demands. If it wasn't bad enough that this epic monster is played by a rom-com clown, he's also a horribly inconsistent villain who you don't fear and changes when the plot says so, meaning that you never understand him or feel impressed by his shifting skills.
I make logic my bitch!
Though this does also contain the one moment I actually did like from Matthew. After he gains his intel, he berates Jake's idiot mother for not believing him, and never even checking out the facility she was so eager to ship him off to. Basically saying what a horrible mother she is.
Oh, girl, you really should have believed your boy, but you didn't care for him. In fact, you were so self-absorbed that you never saw how special he was. You just wanted to send him off to the asylum.
But
Shame on you! Trixie's wagon says hi. Alright.
I'll give credit. This is like the only time McConaughey feels menacing, and it's not often you see the monster call out the useless adults on being useless adults. So there's some good here. Unfortunately, this one good scene gets undercut later. Back in Midworld, the portal is fully functional, but the Man in Black's forces keep track of all doorway activity and pick it up on their sensors. So they dispatch an army of reptiles to crush the rebellion. We get a big action scene which is supposed to show off Roland's gunslinging skills, but it's pretty standard and forgettable. It's more or less a cheap CW fight scene, where we get goons getting shot or smacked around by the rebels and Roland. But the movie is rated PG-13, so they aren't allowed to go nuts or even show blood.
You stink!
I know the real Roland is a boss, but the movie makes Idris Elba a boring invincible action star who never struggles and is barely fazed by killing bad guys overwhelming this shanty town. He just shoots them all down with ease like Arnie, while in the novels, Roland lost 2 fingers and eventually the ability to shoot in both hands, giving him some obstacles. I'm just not invested in seeing blood sport gunning down stormtroopers in dull ways, who don't even scare him. Oh, but we get to enjoy another scene of Roland saving Jake, because the kid gets abducted once more. This kid is the most useless kid hero I've ever seen in a long time. Isn't he meant to be this divine shining warrior? You're telling me the same kid who blew up a house monster with his mind can't do the same to a Mortal Kombat minion with a lizard's brain?
Great continuity!
Oh, and the man in black watches the ambush with his Star Wars holograms, never explained, where he learns that his archenemy, the gunslinger, lives, and co-oping with the boy.
Gunslinger, we meet again! Once I have the brat, even your bullets, formed from the Excalibur, won't be able to best me!
Oh, right. The movie says that Roland is so cool that he made his pistol bullets from King Arthur's sword. Though, exactly how many did he build? The Excalibur sword is not huge enough to make thousands, and Roland literally wastes so many bullets in this film. So how did that one sword give every gunslinger trillions of metal?
Don't know.
Roland and Jake enter the Stargate, where they return to Earthrealm to recover from the attack. And by pure frickin' coincidence, this half-baked portal takes them precisely back to Jake's homeland, NYC.
Hey, what a coinky-dink.
We get a lot of fish out of water jokes because Roland just doesn't get our weird human stuff, and it's pure cringe.
How's the soda?
Too sugary. Needs salt.
My kids left me alone to die!
Wow, the tone of this dark fantasy story sure knows how to amuse, eh? Oh, but after some wacky Roland hijinks, the movie then tries to get serial when the duo find out that Jake's parents were killed by the sorcerer. But no Kitten, what should be a tragic moment is completely soiled when they see that the man in black left a smiley face made from the mom's ashes to taunt them. Yes, for realsies, he left a smiley face. A smiley face to mock them.
Smile face!
Folks, if you can't see how unscary Matthew McConaughey is as the man in black from this Joker gag, then you are blind. The man in black is just not scary, and this scene solidifies how goofy this clown is. Randall left a smiley face made of dung to mock the heroes.
I also roasted marshmallows from her glimmer. Alright.
And only now, upon seeing Jake cry for his mom, does Roland finally form a connection with the kid, where he vows to avenge him since it reminds him of how he lost his paw. And it's only in the final act. This leads to the gunslinger teaching Jake the ways of the gun. But spoiler alert, Jake never uses a gun at all for the rest of the movie. So this bonding moment is entirely pointless. Why even include a scene where Jake learns how to shoot if he never ever uses a gun in the rest of the movie?
Don't know.
Our heroes then interview a random homeless man Jake met earlier, where it's revealed that Chester A. Bum was one of the shining kids the man in black drained for power at the
laser
facility. So the heroes gain intel on the whereabouts of the man in black's base from him. Why did the man in black, a deranged lunatic who loves killing people, including his own goons, allow one of his tortured guinea pig students go on Earth, wandering as a homeless guy on the streets, instead of offing him?
Don't know.
This writing sucks so much, and it only gets worse. You're the gunslinger. You got change?
No, that was a different life.
How does this bum even know you if he was an Earth child abducted when he was 6?
don't know.
So if you didn't hate the heroes by now, they presume to rob a gun store where Roland gains his iconic weaponry to face the Dark Ones. Our heroes, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm a gunslinger. We live to protect those who can't fight back.
Now, give me free bullets or I'll cap your knees. Just when they gear up, the Man in Black and his reptiles assault the gun shop, where a big battle breaks out. I do like how the Man in Black taunts Roland with his illusion powers, which he also pulled out his ass.
Go!
But it does allow Elba to flex some acting muscles as he fuels with rage. Though this also goes against the book, as the Man in Black and Roland barely interacted up until the book's near conclusion, so it's all new material injected to get us to care about their rivalry. Meaning it'll confuse book fans this time, because this is all new content. And as always, this movie fails to make Matthew scary since he's still over the top, and even dumber, Jake gets captured again. This all-powerful, chosen one shining warrior gets endangered one more time.
Roland, save me! This van doesn't have special candy!
So the Man in Black finally has Jake Chambers at his mercy, where he proceeds to put him in the battery chamber to power his
laser
and destroy the Dark Tower.
Hello, Jakey Poo! The cat and mouse games end here! Now, you will use your special gifts to aid in the destruction of all life, and soon the tower will fall!
Do we have any real connection?
This is like the first time we're ever meeting each other, and there's like no tension between either of us. You're the scary guy from my nightmares, yet I don't feel that impressed by you, and you don't know me. It's quite a letdown. I guess it is, Kitten. I guess it is. Hook him up to the pain chair.
So the Man in Black connects him to the battery, powering up the
laser.
But when all is lost, right the hell out of nowhere, Jake masters his power over the Shining and slows down the Man in Black's plans. He uses his mind to weaken the
laser,
activates a Stargate to the lair, heals his pain, and sends psychic messages to Roland to find him.
That's not how
The Shining
works.
Folks, if you still doubt me when I say that the filmmakers didn't understand this franchise at all, well, The Shining pretty much turns into The Force just to give us a dumb action blowout where Jake finally masters his Jedi skills and summons Roland to save the day in a cheesy Hollywood shootout that was never in the source material. I'll admit, some of Roland's fight scenes in the final fight aren't too shabby. There's some cool stuff like Roland sniping a sniper through his sniper scope, him reloading before the bodies hit the floor, and Roland reciting his gunslinger creed while wiping the floor with mercs. But there's an equal amount of dumb stuff too. Roland starts parkouring across the abandoned warehouse. The fact that the villains don't just disable the damn portal before he gets to it is mind-boggling. And some of the deaths are just goofy, undercutting any seriousness.
Finally, I'm ready to do something and kill the last gunslinger.
Ow, that hurt!
Weak!
That's it! I'll finish this right meow!
At long last, the Man in Black shares a rematch with Roland, and this is where fan opinions really divided. I know it's cool to finally see our hero and villain combat each other ahead of schedule, but the bad CGI really takes over and sucks me out of the fight, especially since we're expected to buy that Idris Elba is getting his ass whooped by frickin' Matthew McConaughey.
Bullshit! Bullshit!
Too late, Space Cowboy! This'll be your last rodeo!
Go back to Kubo in hell!
Even Dad has shot better than that! Are you a Goosebumps review? 'Cause you've been blocked!
Yeah, Roland begins to lose again despite the Man in Black using limited magic, which does show how impressive the baddie is for once. Yet, shocking, the film messes it up later. Roland gets the shit beat out of him and is down, where we do the cliched child cheering him on to get back up, kid. Jake looks into Roland's mind and encourages him to be strong enough to try again by reciting the Gunslinger's Creed and seeing how awesome his dad was. And we get to the worst part of the movie. Roland refuses to bend the knee and squares off with McConaughey one last time, where he pulls off a trick shot of ricocheting one bullet with another bullet right at the foe's heart before he can block.
You can't stop me! I'm invincible! Ow! I'm dead!
Fucking television!
Yeah, that's it! The Man in Black dies! And not only does one of the main villains of the entire saga die in episode 1, but he dies anticlimactically getting shot dead. After he pulls off his dead shot maneuver, Roland simply shoots the Man in Black regular gangsta style, and the bad guy's magic powers he's been using all movie suddenly vanish, and he keels over dead, getting shot multiple times in the most punk fashion possible. The Man in Black, personification of evil, is killed off, getting shot by cheap 99-cent bullets. Oh, and unlike how a ton of horror movies do, they never imply that he'll be back or survive this. He's dead. The movie kills off the Man in Black, who lives all the way to the Dark Tower finale, dead in the very first adventure. And all it took to defeat one of Stephen King's most powerful monsters was just to shoot him a couple times.
You big and furthermore, I'm gonna the mother of
Screw this movie! It wasn't bad enough Matthew McConaughey was horribly miscasted, but you went the extra mile to kill him off in a lame, cheap, anticlimactic, and truly hilariously awful fashion. This is about as bad as the Halo show's treatment of fake Master Chief. You know, how they made him get naked all the time and murder him, desecrating his corpse. The Man in Black gets that bad a rap in this. Go to Crimson Hell, movie.
Truth of the matter is, I don't like my movies either, but man, they just keep offering me money and I do it.
This can't be the end! I was supposed to be in the sequel!
You forgot, Black Man. You're working for Sony, where good sequels get canned.
So, after killing the Man in Black, Roland saves Jake and they blow up the entire evil school base, breaking the
laser
and killing all the kids still trapped inside.
What the fuck?
Yeah. I'm not even joking. Roland shoots the laser generator upon escaping with Jake and everyone there. Both the remaining minions and the poor kids abducted by them are all blown up. The heroes ditch the other kids in the doomed base. We never see them ever again, so yeah, they're all either dead or trapped in Midworld, away from their fam forever. Dang, Roland has a higher body count than most Stephen King villains. This is a horrible ending, yet the movie plays it up like a triumphant moment.
That is whack.
But we thankfully get to our quote-unquote heartwarming ending. Roland and Jake finally become bros. He says, "That's my boy," and they tease future adventures that are never gonna happen because this film bombed.
Well, kid, I'm sure you're traumatized for life after losing your parents, getting tortured, drained like a battery, and learning that magic exists. So, how about you join me combating aliens and space demons across the cosmos?
Are you kidding? This is the happiest day of my life!
Ocean man, take me by the hand, lead me to the land.
And they stuck this series back in development hell while fans flocked back to the books. Anywho, that was 2017's The Dark Tower. More like I need a shower, cause that was so awful I need to take 20 to wash off the foulness of this feces. It sucks. The Dark Tower movie sucks. This concept had so much potential, and even despite downgrading the massive ideas to smaller scale, they still fail. It's almost unrecognizable to the book, feeling more like it wants to be a Star Wars or Marvel movie rather than a true love letter towards King's work of art. Everything that is wrong with Hollywood adaptations is in this movie. Purging all the abstract concepts so it's easier to market, compressing a long story arc into a generic popcorn thriller, altering beloved characters into tired old cliches, cheaping out on the budget, relying on a devoted fanbase to sell tickets to, instead of attempting to actually put in effort to give them a faithful work showing off how good this tale is, making dumb changes to win over newcomers, blowing off the loving fans who wanted to see their story come alive, bad effects that look worse than a CW show, horribly miscasted actors, lack of emotion, piss-poor world building, piss-poor storytelling, rushed pacing, ugly cinematography, hiring idiots who fail to grasp why the original was so enjoyable, and worst of all, making an enticing dive into a horrific yet magical dream world boring. The Dark Tower is not only a bad representation of a saga on par with Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, but it's also dull. You do not care what happens in this story because it fails to capture the excitement or make anything from this world cool. This movie's such a forgettable mess, and to me, a movie that's forgettably bad is the worst sin you can get because it means you'll forget it in a day. The Dark Tower is easily one of the worst Stephen King movies ever made, if only because its sad fall is one you will never remember. So I give this pile of crap a decayed skull and don't recommend it unless you want a cure for your insomnia. This movie, Cat? He's gone! Looks like Scaredy Cat gets the final joke.
You are just awful. You're one of the worst actors in the history of film, and I think that you need to go away.
Oh, thanks, man. The truth is I spend at least 90% of my year going away, exploring exotic places, having sex with my beautiful girlfriend, just doing sit-ups. I mean, that really, and then counting money. Money that I've made off the terrible films that I put out into the American populace because they just love to see me doing what it is that I do.
Yes, but you're not hearing me. Dazed and Confused was the one thing that was passable. After that...
Oh, thanks, man. That actually launched my career.
After that, everything else was awful. Contact, they didn't even need you in that movie. They could have done the whole movie without you.
I know. I said the same thing, but they were just like, oh, we need a good-looking guy with a great ass and some tight abs to just provide some down-home enthusiasm in this picture. Something to counterbalance Jodie Foster. They took her to be slightly cold, unapproachable, you know, so they put me in there. I said it didn't make any sense. Said the same thing about that Bill Murray elephant movie, but they were just like, all the audiences need you.
You make me physically sick to my stomach, and I wish that you would get a heart attack.
I totally feel you, man. Truth of the matter is, I don't like my movies either, but, man, they just keep offering me money, and I do it, and then I get to go around the world. I mean, did you see Sahara? But I'll tell you what that movie gave me was an opportunity to take an Airstream all across the country and sell that picture one person at a time.
You suck donkey ass.
Now, you can't prove that.